No one before him has reached this kind of level at nearly 37 years old. 42 matches, 38 goals. That's a goal every 85 minutes on average. Lewandowski puts to shame those who, just a few years ago, were seen as the gold standard for ageless footballers. He outshines Ibrahimovic, Ronaldo, Totti, and Klose, and even legends from another era, like Di Stefano or Puskas. But before we dive into history, let's take a look at some of the other veterans, players born in 1988, just like Robert, who still haven't retired. Only one name truly holds up in comparison: Jan Sommer. He's still competing at the top level, starting in goal for a very strong Inter Milan side. Of course, he's a goalkeeper. And as we know, they tend to age a bit more gracefully thanks to the nature of the position. Angel Di Maria is somewhere in the conversation. 33 matches, 15 goals, and 8 assists. But he's playing in a league, and for a club, that are considered a step below Barcelona. And from that point on, the gap becomes a chasm, especially when we're talking about offensive players. Alexis Sanchez, only 10 matches this season, 0 goals, 0 assists. Willian? Not much better. Despite appearing in 19 games, he's only managed a single assist, and that wasn't even in the Premier League, but back when he was still at Olympiacos. So how does Lewandowski compare historically? Well, first, let's acknowledge the obvious. Most players his age have either already hung up their boots, or are playing semi-retired football in the US, China, or Saudi Arabia. But even when we compare him to players known for their longevity, Lewy still outclasses the field. By far, the closest anyone's come recently is Cristiano Ronaldo. He actually surpassed Lewandowski in league goals this season and broke the record for most goals scored by a player over 36, with 36 goals. Quagliarella also deserves a mention. He won the Serie A Golden Boot for Sampdoria with 26 goals. Di Natale scored the same for Udinese. Totti, at age 36, scored 8 for Roma. Giroud netted 18 for Milan. Dzeko scored 17 for Inter, and Klose, 8 for Lazio. Even if we go back further in time, the story stays the same. Puskas, 30 goals. Di Stefano, 22. Still, both fall short of Robert's 38. And let's not forget, this season isn't even over yet. Lewy is almost certain to push that number even higher. And it's not like these other players didn't have the hunger, or that Lewy is forcing his career to continue unnaturally. The truth is, most of them just couldn't keep up anymore. After his last league game, Mundo Deportivo called Robert deadly, and even though it's only early April, we already know this is going to be his best season at Barcelona. And Lewandowski, he's not planning to slow down. In a recent interview, he made it crystal clear. A lot of people talk about my age, but physically, I feel great. I want to keep playing at the highest level for a few more years. To be honest, the criticism he's been getting lately, it's baffling, and in my opinion, it just shows how underappreciated he really is. I've watched most of Barca's games this season. Sure, it's not the same Lewy from his peak. Not quite the same technique, not quite the same finishing. I get it. He can be frustrating. He goes through rough patches. Sometimes he looks like he doesn't quite fit in. But come on, 38 goals this season. You don't score that many, unless you're doing a lot of things right. Lewy benefits from excellent service, but let's be honest, that doesn't mean just any striker would thrive in this system. He's renowned for his positioning, his football IQ, that killer instinct in front of goal. Even if he's no longer physically dominant or technically as sharp as before, he more than makes up for it with intelligent movement. The kind of movement you don't always catch on a first watch. Right now, I think Barca is just oversaturated. Too many elegant, technical players. And next to them, Lewy doesn't always shine in the same way. But that doesn't take away from what he brings to this team. In fact, I'm convinced, without him, Barcelona wouldn't still be in the fight for every single trophy this season. And It's always been this way throughout his career. People trying to label him, calling him clunky, saying he had no flair. They said Bayern was a machine that played itself, that Kane would break his Bundesliga record in just one season, that Ferran Torres, at his peak, would take his spot, that Vitor Roque would send him into early retirement. And yet, here we are, the so-called old man, still doing just fine. Maybe next year, someone will knock him off the throne. But right now, Lewy is only 2 goals behind the leader in the Golden Boot race. He's ahead of Haaland, ahead of Kane, ahead of Mbappe, the very players who were supposed to leave him behind years ago. Now, I'll be honest, I expected Hansi Flick to give Lewy a bit of a spark, but not like this. Clearly, Flick still sees something special in the pull, and it makes total sense. Because Lewandowski's best seasons, they all came under his coaching. In the 113 matches Flick managed Robert, he scored 121 goals. That's one of the best coach-player duos in the history of football. I'll admit, I was completely surprised to realize. Statistically, this might actually be one of the best seasons of his entire career. In his prime Bayern years, Lewy scored 48, 50, and even 55 goals in a single season. This year, even in the least optimistic case, Barcelona still has around 11 matches left. If they make it to the finals in every competition, that number could climb to 15. And with Lewy averaging 0.91 goals per game, he's on track to score well over 50 goals by the end of the season. Right now, as I'm recording this, Lewy is just 3 goals away from hitting a huge milestone, just for Barcelona. He recently passed Ronaldinho, and soon he'll overtake Pedro, Neymar, and Stoichkov. And he's done all this in just 137 matches. Today, Barca is playing some of the best attacking football in the world. But let's not forget what things looked like when Lewandowski first arrived at Camp Nou. He didn't come in his prime. And the club, it wasn't at its best either. Barca was still recovering from one of the worst crises in its modern history. The team didn't function as well as it does now, not even close, and still, he managed to pass so many legends in the record books. You don't have to love the guy, but at the very least, give him credit. In my opinion, Lewy fits this current squad perfectly. And here's what people tend to forget. Barca may look great on the pitch right now, but financially, they're still in a tight spot. They don't have the money to go out and buy a striker who can guarantee what Lewy gives them. Realistically, they'd have to spend at least $100 million. And even if they did, who's to say the new guy would even work out? Lewandowski will be remembered for his incredible durability, both in career length and physical condition. He's barely ever injured, and when he is, it's usually something minor. Yes, genetics play a part, but don't chalk it all up to that. Since the very beginning, he's prioritized recovery, nutrition, and staying fit. That's why, unlike most players his age, he's not breaking down every few weeks. Lewy took care of himself, he put in the work, and now he's reaping the rewards. And that's where we'll leave it. But now, I want to hear from you. How do you see Lewandowski's legacy? Do you think he's still one of the best in the world? Or is it finally time to pass the torch? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let's talk football.